What is happening, guys? Holy cow, we are back. You probably thought we fell off the planet Earth.
I'm sure
But
they
yes,
did.
yes, we are back. This is Comic Book Weekly streaming on Comic Book Corner 2.0 and the Comic Book Weekly YouTube channel. So, welcome to the few viewers that we have on so far. I'm sure hopefully we'll get more as time goes along and as the weeks go along. And for the first time, also in absolute before we went off the air, we have three of us on the show, which is awesome, you know. So that's really good too. But Kat won't be here next week.
No, but we decided it was worth it because we were gonna take another week off. We're like, no, let's just go back on, and then hopefully you guys will understand I won't be on next week. But then the week after will be normal. But they will be on next week.
Yeah,
so
we will be
the
on.
show
Brent
will be
and I.
back.
Yeah,
but just not the three of us next week.
Yeah. There was a lot of comics that came out and stuff
man.
like that. And there was like, I wish there was things that we could, you know, that I would love to talk about, but we just couldn't make it happen. And I will, you know, you guys had your stuff going on, but really it was because of me. I was the kind of like the catalyst of everything because of my hectic work schedule and everything that was going on with, you know, tennis and stuff like that. And being that I work all day and then coming in this garage, and it's been a record-setting heat in Florida, and I'm sure in Texas too.
Yep.
It's just unbearable to be in here at that time. But just a lot going on for everybody, and it just feels good to be back and starting to get back in the swing of things. And we appreciate you guys coming back to us, and you know, because we don't want to ever stop doing this show. We've been doing it forever, whether it's been so many different iterations. Us three have been together for pretty much forever at this point.
It's been over a decade, so it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been well over a decade, I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
You know, so all right. So here is the thing. For whatever reason, if you're new, right?
Well, someone is David. This first live.
Oh, sweet.
Also,
Awesome,
you guys are gonna have to feature the comments this time around because this is not my computer, so I'm not signed in.
Okay.
So for you guys that are new, we're going to talk about our top 5 comics of the week. That's how we're going to kick it off this week first, and then next week we'll do news, and then we're going to tackle the news. We'll try to take some comments, questions, live, anything that you guys want to talk about. We'll do the best that we could or can, and that's pretty much it, man. We kind of go with the flow here. We're pretty easygoing people. Just be respectful. That's all we ask, of course, and that's it. So I guess we'll get started. And we want to thank the 37 people that are on watching
already. Thank you.
So this is
all we had to say. We're back, and that's all you needed.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's right. So that's that. This is definitely an interesting comment right here, right? It says, so Mike, was there really a leprosy outbreak down in there in Florida? Actually, yes, there was.
Wow.
It was actually in Brevard County, which is county kind of east to where I am. It wasn't huge. It wasn't like a big deal. They just made a comment on it on the news. You know how they over dramatize everything, but they're like, leprosy is not a big deal because it can be treated by antibiotics. And they're like, and if you catch it, it's not that bad.
It was a big deal, 2,000 years ago, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, and we want to welcome you guys to the show. Obviously, we have Tevia is on. He says hi. We have Thomas. Oh, welcome back. Venom. Is this Venom New York City? He says, what's up, everybody? And we got Lee Smith on here who says, hey. So yeah, guys, it's great to be back. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun here. So let's go ahead. Let's dive into the comic books. And you guys want to chime in on these comic books this week and, and our opinions on this top 5, that would be awesome. So we're going to talk about probably the biggest book literally of the week when it comes to page count, at least anyway. We have Amazing Spider-Man. This is issue 31. So this is the legacy numbering. I think it's 925. I think it is. So obviously it's like every 25 issues now we do, milestone stuff. And I looked at this book where I actually enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. I think the main story was better than anything that we have gotten as of late. The early stuff from Zeb Wells when it came to Tombstone and things like that, I really enjoyed. So now that we're going back to Tombstone and we're finally touching on the wedding that really didn't happen, and we get to see that story come to a fold here, leading into the future gangster or gang war. I found myself really enjoying it. I did like the bachelor and bachelorette party, and as expected, Felicia and Peter are broken up, which you could have seen that coming from a mile away. But I do like how they wrote Peter in this book, also just for the pure fact that he was kind of protecting his best friend, saying, that he didn't invite anybody to his bachelor party. So I thought that was very Peter-like. And then if you cared about any of the future stuff that's coming out for Spider-Man, it gave you all those little previews, which I also liked. So I look at that as kind of like, oh, well, since this was in here, if I don't like this, the way this was drawn or written, I don't have to pick up that book in the future. So I like that. That's fine. For me, they weren't throwaway stories.
Right.
No, for once, Spider-Man actually like progressed its story, and I have to say this is the best issue of the run thus far. Again, there's not a lot of competition for that, but I like that there actually was progression. It's interesting because Tevye said that, oh, I hate they made Mary Jane Jackpot, but I'm like, finally, they're doing something outside of Peter. Let her be Jackpot. Let her do something else. And also, you don't like Paul? Great. Paul has nothing to do with her being Jackpot. Like, it was really mostly her and Black Cat. So I really like that. I liked the teases for everything. I thought the wedding felt very classic Spider-Man. I enjoyed this issue. I thought it was pretty good. Is it the best Spider-Man issue ever? No.
No. But it's like both of you said, it's the best one we've had in a long time. And yeah, I thought it was fun. I thought that main story, especially throwing in like the gang stuff and all that, it would have been kind of cheesy and boring if it was just a nice wedding that just happened and everything went smoothly. So you knew something had to go on. So that was fun. And I really enjoyed all the teases. It got me, at least curious about a few books. So yeah, I thought it was fun.
Yeah. I mean, again, I know people don't like backup stories, and I am included in that, but it actually gave me some value there. Like, I would have never expected a Spider-Woman series coming out, and the way it looked and the way it was written, I actually enjoyed that, and then it gave you a little insight of what's going on with Spider-Boy and who his bad guy is going to be and stuff like that.
We will find out tomorrow who he is, I think. So hopefully it lives up to the hype, which we'll talk about, like the ongoing book of Spider-Boy a bit later. We will catch up on some news that we missed. So don't worry, guys. I've been seeing a lot of comments. I saw even the Donny Cates thing. We won't talk about that, but that was crazy to find all that stuff out. There's a lot that's happened since we were gone. So,
by the time the run ends, Paul will probably die on the way back to his home planet.
That's the thing where people, I don't understand I do understand the frustration about Paul, but I also don't understand the frustration. He's not going to last. He's next run, he will be gone. So it's just like, don't get your, don't get all upset about it. Everything goes back to status quo.
Yeah, they already planted the seeds. The kids disappeared. They're going to start, parting, because that's kind of one of the things that pulled them together. Not saying that there's not real feelings there and all that stuff, but it just feels like there's this divide. You saw that in what was it, the annual, or was it the backup? It was the
in this one, yeah.
In this one, in the backup story,
they were like had their back spaced.
Right. Yeah, they were still holding hands, but you could see the subtle separation starting there. So.
Exactly.
I do want to mention Paul's comment with Felicia out of the picture. Do you guys think there's any chance for Peter and to get back with MJ? No. It's not going to happen because Marvel's not going to allow it to happen. But there were nitpicks of this issue like that. Felicia randomly breaking up with Peter. I'm like, that was weird. And then I do think there was a lot of kid talk. There was a lot of talk with Mary Jane's kids, and even like Spider-Woman's whole story was about her kid. I'm like, okay, so every female story just has to do with their children, which I thought was very interesting. But they're not going to get back together. Yeah. But that's comics.
When it comes to the explanation with Felicia and Peter, that I agree, that was very rushed. It was kind of like 2 pages and then they broke up. Like, you never saw any strain on their relationship until that very moment, right? So I felt like if they were going to break up, I would have loved to seen them break up a couple issues down the road or something leading into that, you know?
Yeah, that's a nitpick I have about like TV shows and movies and stuff that sometimes that is done really quickly and you're like you just made this like snap decision based on one thing somebody said and now you just ended your entire relationship because of it. And I don't think clarity comes that quickly.
Right.
I think it's a process.
Right.
And we didn't get to see that process play out. I agree with that.
Yeah. And then the other issue I had was with Randy and what's her name?
Forget her name.
Oh,
her actual name.
Janice.
Yeah. Like, I get that, like, you know, her dad just got shot up and the whole limo got blown up with Madame Mask on it. But they kind of don't even say goodbye to each other.
Yeah,
they kind of just
weird.
look. They're just like, and then that's it. You know what?
He's like, she's got stuff she's dealing with. We're out of here.
Yeah.
Bye. See ya.
It's so funny, man. It's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, hey, what do you want? You kind of the writing's on the wall there. When you get a whole bunch of gangster villains there, it's not going to happen. Man.
Or just a wedding in general, and
it's
usually how it ends.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you know, yeah, you probably might see Mary Jane and Peter date again, maybe because if she's a superhero now, maybe it's okay to date her, but to have them actually get married again, I don't see it. I don't see it.
Because there's nothing that changed in Marvel internally that they'd be like, wait, like if there was a huge change and shift in Marvel, they'd be like, maybe this would happen, but it's the same people running the show. So it's just like, why would they randomly be like, no, this is the time they got to get married? It's like they literally been doing this since we started this show.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
The thing about Spider-Man, especially with how popular he is in multimedia, they want to keep him ageless as possible, and keeping him unmarried, single, going, you know, all that stuff. It, you know, perpetuates that for people coming in.
I agree with that, but there's just been no character growth for years.
I agree.
You know, and it's just like, I know a lot of people would appreciate that actually getting together, getting married, having the kid.
I would too. Yeah.
Just go with real time. I mean, it would make for such a better story. And I just don't get why he needs character growth. You know, it's just, you can only be in this limbo for so long, you know? So I don't know. Tevia, sorry, you took away a question.
Go ahead.
Tevia said, question, how do you guys feel about Spider-Man Reign happening? Because frankly, I don't understand why we need a sequel to this train wreck of story with Peter's, you know what? So
I just have no interest. I don't care. Like it goes back to like you can be angry about it, be like, oh, that's literally why they're making the story. They said the most infamous Spider-Man story. Like I
never read
don't
it.
Care.
I didn't even know what it was. I was going to ask you all, like, what are they teasing?
I don't remember what happened in the story. I definitely have read it, but I know that they're.
So it's like, from what I heard, and it's not the main aspect, I guess, of the story, but like Spider-Man actually is hooking up with Mary Jane, or they're married, or whatever it is in that story. I don't know. And she develops cancer because of his Spider-Man sperm. So that's basically what it is, because it's radioactive. So she develops cancer from it. And I never read it because this was before I came back to comic books, because I came back in comic books in like 2007, 2008. And this came out, I think, in 2006.
But Spider Island did a similar story, you know. That's why she was able not to turn into a spider. It's been done before. But yeah, I mean, unless I hear raving reviews, I'm probably not going to pick it up, and that's okay. You don't have to pick it up.
I don't think I read this either. Like, I was reading comics, but I wasn't reading them like aggressively at that point. This was before like comic related and all that stuff. So yeah, I don't think
I read it through Marvel Unlimited.
Okay.
I think that's it. But again, I was like in high school when I read it, so I just don't remember it very well.
Right. So, all right. Well, that's our. So I think Mike Manhattan said this is like a Spider-Man Reign was like a Dark Knight Returns like story.
Okay.
So it's something similar like that. All right. Well, let's move on here. I'm curious to hear what you guys think of the Well, except Cat, because you know what Cat is like with events. But
I
Night
read the
Terrors,
first issue of that, and then I dropped it.
Night Terrors issue 3. So I read issues 1 and 2, and now you got 3, and it's kind of just going through the motions for me. It's there. It's not horrible, but I've read a lot better. You know, it's cool that we get to see Boston Brand. We haven't seen him in a while in a comic. And then you get to see what the original Sandman, I think, is in this thing.
Yeah,
And
Wesley
then you
Dyer.
get to see like Insomnia, like how the dude actually became the way that he is. And basically he got his powers from the Lazarus volcano or
Rain,
whatever
yeah.
it is. Yeah. So he's one of those guys. You know, it's fine. It's nothing that it's like, oh my God, you must read it, right? And if you're gonna read it, if you're gonna read this Night Terror stuff, obviously this is the thing to read because this is the main story. Unless you have your favorite character that you want to read Night Terrors, then go ahead and read those, right? So I really don't have that much else to say when it comes to Night Terrors.
So few of the miniseries were like worth reading. I'd say the only 2 I liked was Flash and Superman. And even the ones I thought I would like Ravager and Zatanna, characters you don't get to see very often, they're very much the same thing. It's like, oh, they have a nightmare. Let's go through it. And it is so skippable. It's so interesting because again, we had a little bit of our break, and it's just like, oh, at least in the regard of DC, so do they. They didn't really release that much content since we've been gone. Just more Marvel stuff we've kind of have to talk about.
So you know what I compared this to? Convergence. This is
I think Convergence was better than this, but yeah,
but this is a very similar situation. Like you had the Telos character that comes around and he sits there and traps everybody in their own little world, right? And they have to escape from that world. And then this one, you have this Insomnia guy who traps them in a freaking nightmare world, and he's searching for this nightmare stone. It's very similar in that aspect. And the same thing happened. Like all the stories took their breaks, and they had, instead of 2 issues, I think it was like 4-issue stories. And then here it's all 2-issue stories. So the whole line took a break. It was very much a similar thing. The story's a little bit different, but the overall concept is the same.
Yeah, I could see that. I think this event could have been bigger and better, honestly. I agree with you, Kat. The minis, it's all the same pretty much. I did like the Flash one. Ravager, I thought had some potential, but I didn't pick up the second one. Robin, I thought was okay. Green Lantern, as soon as I saw Parallax was coming, I decided to not.
I actually liked it because of
Parallax.
Did you? That's the one.
Like,
that's the one I think that I read both issues for.
Yeah. Okay.
I wonder what that drop was like from issue 1 to issue 2.
Right.
Because all 3 of us like pretty much dropped most of them with issue 2. I wonder how other people. I just wonder why they did it. Like it felt like they had such a cool progression of what DC was doing. There's so many great titles, and they're like, actually, let's stall all these great titles and do this event.
They should have never done that. This could have been something they had in the can for a while, you know, and they had to release it probably.
Yeah, it could have been outside of time. It didn't have to upset, interrupt all the books and everything. And they could have just done, excuse me, the main series longer, because it's really short, right? Like it's not as long as usual.
Yeah, no, it's not. Again, it's like 2 months that this whole thing. I think less than 2 months. This whole thing's going on, and they have not been releasing the other one weekly like they normally would. It's like it's a rather short story, and I don't know the point.
Is it only 4 issues?
No, because didn't we just get issue 4?
No, we got issue 3.
Oh, it's 3.
Yeah.
So maybe it is 4 issues though.
I don't know. I did like seeing Damien, but I thought he was a little out of character. He was just,
There's only 4.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So next issue's the last issue.
That's fine.
It's fine, but it's crazy. It's okay. Like the main series, it's okay, but it's not like, it's not the best event I've ever read. That's for sure.
Right. All right. So there's that. All right, let's talk about I'm surprised Brant would not read this book or didn't get around to reading this book. Barnstormers. This is issue 2. Did you read issue 1, Brant, or no? No? Okay.
He's choking. I liked issue 1 a lot more than issue 2. Issue 2, I was like, oh, it was definitely more plot driven. Like issue 1 was more character driven. I like the world they built. And issue 2 was like, oh, do I like these characters that much?
So I liked issue 2. I thought issue 2 was fine, but I enjoyed issue 1 too because I like the kind of like the Bonnie and Clyde situation where she like runs from the guy, that she's supposed to marry, and they go and they fall in love, and like they steal, and I like that the first issue a lot. And then the second issue, I felt like it took a little while also to kind of get to where it needed to go. But I did like it. I did like how the guy tried to rescue her, and he drives his plane into the whole thing, and then now she's forced to be with him. Like, I think overall it's a good story. It's what I like about it. It's a story that I didn't think I was going to like.
No, that's understandable. I think it's very different. It's very like old school Hollywood, which is fun. I think the art's good. No, it's definitely very different. I don't know if it gave me enough to want issue 3, but I'm glad I checked it out.
I think, isn't it like only one more issue though? I don't think.
Is it? If it's only one more, I'll check it out.
I don't think it's a very long series because I don't know how long they can go with this type of thing, right? So
see how long it is. I know it was a digital book first.
Who published it?
Is. Yeah, it's 3. It's Dark Horse, but it used to be a comiXology book. Yeah, if there's only one more issue, I'll finish it up.
And Scott Snyder writes this.
Yeah, Scott Snyder. Yeah. He won an Eisner for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
completely off my radar.
It's completely different, I feel, for him. So, I enjoyed it. I want to see how the whole thing closes out here.
Yeah.
All right. What happens. So, oh, wow. This is funny. I haven't heard this book in a while. Have you guys ever read Stray Bullets from David LaPalme? Is that how you say it?
I don't think I have. No,
I haven't either. I think, man, I want to say because this has been out for a long time now. I think I bought the trade a long time ago, like long time ago. And I don't think I ever got around to reading it for some reason. And I wound up selling it.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard of it, but
I've definitely heard of it. Yeah.
Scott Snyder books are usually 6 issues additionally, but when they get printed, each issue is 2 in 1. Yeah, they're oversized books. That's why I thought it was 3 issues too.
Yeah, they're pretty long.
All right, so let's talk about our number 5. I'll start off with Brant. Number 5. Come on, Brant, put it together. You can do it.
Oh man, number 5. What am I gonna? Give me a second. Go to Cat first. Yeah, give me a second.
All right, my number 5 is. Let's see. World's Finest Teen Titans issue 2. This is the week we come back, and I have a little bit of a lackluster top 5, but I really like the first issue. I thought the first issue was really good, and this issue, it's still a solid series. It's if you like the drama of Teen Titans, which I do, if you like the soap opera-ness of it, you get that here. It's a fun book, but I don't think it's really doing anything that reinventing of the wheel, especially this issue. It's just like Donna. You follow a little bit of her drama here, but it's a solid book, but just a bit forgettable. But
it was just seemed like a one and done story.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I've been enjoying more. The tales of Teen Titans, I think, have been pretty good. The one shots about like certain characters, like I thought the Starfire one was good.
Oh yeah, I didn't read those.
Yeah.
No, I didn't either.
They're pretty good. I like the Starfire one a lot, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I like this book. I thought it was all right. I just was just like, I don't know. It just seemed like they were in this trouble, and they had this girl that was going through her issues, and then it was just like, okay, it's over. We solved the day, and then Donna was just kind of like, she was like all taken back by what she saw in her image or in her dream or whatever it was. And they're like, are you okay? She's like, go ahead, fine, let's go. And yet she was like that happy-go-lucky one on Earth and everything else. So it's kind of like, I don't know, she took that dream very like personally. Like she shouldn't be doing what she's doing here on Earth or on the man's world, right? So,
Right.
but I don't know. I mean, it was okay. I'm gonna continue to read it to see if there's any more development out of that book.
Yeah, I'm hoping it gets better. Honestly, it's okay. It's not one.
Yeah, it's not world's finest. It's very like it's just very run of the mill. It's fine. But it's not bad. So there's no reason to drop it right now. But if we're like issue 5 and it continues just to be run of the mill, I think I could leave some room.
Same. Yeah.
All right, Brant. So do you have a number 5 now?
Yeah. Sorry, I was explaining to Mike and Kat before the show that I completely forgot we did that, so I didn't even rank my books or anything. But it's been too long. Anyway, I'll go with the Madness number 1. I think this is AWA.
Yes. Yeah.
Looks like Dynamite says that's their favorite of the week too.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I see that now. Yeah, so I thought it was a pretty decent read. It's about this woman that's got powers, and she's been stealing stuff, but just low key, and she decides to do this one job so that she can live her life with her husband and her kids, and nothing's going to go wrong. Everything's going to go smoothly. And by the end of the book, her husband and her kids are killed, and she's alone, and it drives her mad. And that's how we end it. And now she's presumably going to be this major supervillain in that universe. So I thought it was a really good setup, and it was really emotional. You got to know a lot about like her and her family leading up to this whole thing, and then so you felt the impact with her when it came about. So I thought it was a really good first issue.
Yeah, I agree. I liked it too. I thought it took a little while to get to that point though, because there's a lot of talking heads in it. Like obviously you see her do that mission, and then we get all the political aspect of how are we going to get to her? How are we going to destroy her?
Right. That part was a little boring. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we got to get to the council, and the council had to take a vote on it. Yeah. And then finally we get to the part, and you find out that she is like multiple personality type of thing, because if you checked out that last page, you get to see like the character design, and she's like starts off as just Sarah, and then it's Raven, which is her
thief persona,
and then the Madness, which is I guess like a Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde type of thing, or Incredible Hulk type of situation, you know. So I thought it was pretty cool. This book was not on my radar at all, and my the guy that works at the comic book shop says, Mike, I know you do your issue 1 show. And he's like, you should check out this book. It's really good. So I'm like, who's it written by? He's like, J. Michael Straczynski. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I was like, I'll check it out. And sure enough, I liked it. I thought the art was really good. It was very explosive. And I'm very intrigued on what's going to happen going forward.
Yeah, I also thought her powers were interesting because she had invulnerability and flight and super strength, but she could only use one at a time. So if she was flying, she wasn't invulnerable, and so forth. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that was really cool. So that was a nice little pick there. My number 5 was Spider-Man. So, and of course, we've already talked about that. So now we're going to move on to some X-Men stuff here. We got the whole Fall of X situation going on, which ever since the gala happened, I've really enjoyed the whole Fall of X. I thought that the overall gala was the best gala issue I ever read. I love seeing them all get destroyed and killed and their party all ruined. And I was like, oh, damn, this is good stuff right here, you know? And I love how Orchis finally succeeded. And just even the Tony Stark, like the Iron Man book, was all connected to the Fall of X also. So I really like how they put that all together. So I read Astonishing Iceman, and I was definitely disappointed in that issue. It just didn't make sense to me. And then we have Immortal X-Men, which was pretty good. And now we got Children of the Vault. And it's weird because the Children of the Vault, or the kids, whatever they are, they're like a filler for X-Men right now. They're like going into the world, and they're like creating new buildings and civilizations like for all these poor countries, and Orchis is not worried about them because they only care about the mutants and whatnot. So it was an interesting book. And then you got Cable, and you got Bishop in there. Cable gets rescued by Bishop, so that was kind of cool. So it was a different take on the book. However, I still couldn't find myself really get attached to the characters in this book.
Yeah, as much as we've seen the Children of the Vault characters, because it's been so inconsistent, it's hard to attach to any of them. But I mean, Cable and Bishop teaming up was interesting just because of their history together, and so that was kind of two enemies having to come together and be the last two to save the world basically from the Children of the Vault and Orcus and all that stuff. So that aspect of it I enjoyed. But like you, I don't love the Children of the Vault, but I thought it was a fine story,
Right. For what it is. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't expect them to be like the saviors of Earth right now.
Right,
Right. It was
Yeah.
interesting. So,
Agreed.
okay. And I'm curious, did you read the Gala, Kat?
Yeah,
I
oh,
did. I read the Gala. Yeah. I liked it a little less than you, but I did pick up the Kitty Pryde X-Men issue. And I
Okay.
really
So
liked
yeah,
that.
what'd you think of
That
that?
one, that one I loved. I thought it was really, really good. And I'm gonna be picking up X-Men now because she's in it, and we'll see where it goes. But the Gala, because I have not been reading X-Men, I was like, wow, there's a lot of things that have been happening in this story that I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on. But and I'm also not reading Iron Man, so it felt very for the people reading those books. But no, I liked X-Men a lot. I'm gonna read the next issue of X-Men, which I think is Emma Frost driven, and then read the next issue of Iron Man because we got the wedding going on. So we'll see how it plays out.
That X-Men issue was powerful.
With Kitty, it was
shit
really
right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that was phenomenal. I mean, to see her go through what she went through and just the pain and the anguish, and she finally goes through the portal and she ends up in, what was it, Jerusalem, right? Is that where she
Yeah.
was? And then she's faced against these AIM soldiers or these Orcus soldiers, and they threaten her, they laugh in her face, and she's like, you don't want to mess with me, my whole family's just been killed. And they laugh in her face, and she just kills everybody and brutally kills everybody. And you can see that the change that happened, like, in front of the reader. That was some good stuff right there. That's something that I have not seen in an X-Men book in a very long time.
Yeah, they play with Kitty's past really well.
Yeah, they reference a lot of it, and they, there was I think she said something at some point like, you don't know who trained me, and that kind of stuff, and like the Logan part of her came out a little bit, and it was really good. It was really a nice throwback to that character's whole history, every transformation she's been through. And I also appreciate that they didn't drop that whole her not being able to go through the gate thing, that there actually was an end game with that. So
right, yeah, cool. All right, so let's talk about Superman Annual. This is, well, it's not number one, it's 2023 Annual. So I thought this was a perfect book to get readers back on track of what's been going on with Superman. That's all the way I looked at it. And I thought the way it was written was nice. I thought the artwork was nice. I'm a little questionable at the end with the possible whole Lobos city being,
I don't know if I cared about that.
Now, are we going to get a bunch of Lobos going around the DC universe?
Oh no.
Do I need a Lobo story? I don't know.
I didn't have time to finish this. I was reading this right before we came on, and I only got through like a third of it, so I didn't get to that part. So that's no, I'm not excited about the end, but sure.
But the issue was good because you do get it from the point of view of Lois, and you've been kind of building up this moment, and it reminds me why I'm so tired of Night Terrors, because like, oh yeah, there's a lot. Again, there's a lot of great DC books out right now. There's Green Arrow, there's Green Lantern, there's Superman. That have been pretty consistent books, and I was like, oh, I miss Superman. I'm glad this annual came out because it just reminds me that this has been a really, really solid book.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's crazy that they would interrupt them in the middle of arcs and stuff. It just, that blows my mind. It would be one thing if all of them ended at a certain point and this was a transitional thing, but no.
What's funny when you speak about things happening in the middle, Green Lantern in particular, you had the first issue introduced everything. Issue 2, they're on a plane. It's about to blow up, or there's like skulls around them, and they're like, Night Terror for 2 months.
Right.
Like, what?
It's so ridiculous. Yeah, I agree.
Here we had a comment from Parker Luck, and he says, so you guys thinking about picking up the upcoming Spider-Man Reign 2? So we did talk about that earlier. I'm on the fence about it. I don't know yet.
I'll probably pick up the first issue, just pick it up because why not? But I'm not anticipating it.
Yeah. Same, I guess.
And then Tevye says, how do you guys feel about Adventures of Superman, John Kent wasting the Injustice universe and doing nothing with this character?
I was a little disappointed by the ending. I thought it was like, oh wait, maybe this is supposed to be longer. That was really quick that he destroyed everybody. But I like the series overall. I think it was a everything but the last issue was really good.
The series, go ahead, Mike.
I'm sorry, Brant. It was just better than what we were getting, but still, it still wasn't perfect for me.
Yeah, I think I'm like right in the middle of that. Yeah, it was definitely better than the previous stuff we had gotten, but I agree with you, Kat. It was all wrapped up way too fast.
He defeated that Justice League too easily.
It's
like every page was a new Justice League member that he defeated.
Yeah. It's like, I know we're setting John up to be like the ultimate Superman, stronger than his dad and all that stuff, but that was a little bit much.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the Injustice world. They're brutal.
And the funny thing is like but even though he defeated them, like you never saw him actually, you see no violence from John, though.
You don't see how.
You don't see how it's happened. And that kind of pisses me off. Like, have him fight. You know what I'm saying?
We do have a super chat. Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Thank you, Lee. Says,
thank you.
What do you think about the death of the Venom verse?
I have not read it.
I have not read it either.
No,
it's all you, Mike.
I did read it, and I'm trying to remember what happened. I can't remember.
So that's everyone's fault. Either they haven't read it or it's so forgettable.
No,
I honestly had no interest whatsoever.
No, it's not bad. It's actually good from when I got done reading it. I remember closing it and being like, "Oh, this is kind of good." And I'm curious to see where it's going to go. I just need to like look at it and remember, because I think when I read it, like it's 12, 13 books in a row. So it's hard to remember. That's been the way I've been really digesting these books through the summer. Like I have one day, a couple hours, and I'm going to read everything, you know? So,
yeah.
But from what I remember, I think it was fine. It wasn't anything but it wasn't anything original. Right. So I guess we can look at that.
Okay.
But thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. All right. So let's go. Number 4. Kat, what was your number 4?
Mine was Night Terrors, The Flash. Like I said, it really is one of the only ones I'm enjoying. I feel like it has a little bit more of an emotional core for the story. It feels more character driven. I think a lot of these nightmares are just very visually driven. I'm like, look, they're having a nightmare. This is more about like, look what's going on with Kid Flash. Look, his mom's back. Again, stuff we've dealt with in the past, but it just felt like it had a bit more of an emotional pull, and he's like turning into this monster, which was interesting. The thing is with these Night Terror books, though, none of them end. They all have a cliffhanger saying, go read this one shot. I'm like, wait, so I have to read 2 issues of this, and then you don't even give me an ending? All of them, every single one of them that happens. There's not one.
I guess I didn't notice, because I read Robin this week, but I didn't notice that. I guess I just like tuned it out or something. Yeah, it did end kind of abruptly, though. I do remember that. So
yeah, so you got a couple people talking about Death of Venomverse, and it says Agent Venoms are attacking him. So it's Carnage is in the book, and then you got Agent Venoms, and you get all these different Venoms that are trying to stop Carnage, and he's absorbing all their powers, so he can be obviously the ultimate symbiote. So again, nothing that we haven't seen before. It's kind of playing off of the original Carnage storyline.
Okay.
All right. So Brant, what was your number 4?
I'll go with Miles Morales, number 9. I don't remember what happened because it was one of the first books I read, but I remember liking it.
So he is fighting the Hobgoblin.
Oh yeah, it's the Hobgoblin stuff still. Yeah. So I really enjoyed this run. This is the best Miles I've read in a really long time. I'm enjoying the whole dynamic of him being, having his own supporting cast. I like him in Vulture's granddaughter. I think they play off well with each other, and Misty Knight, when she's in the book, she wasn't in this issue, but it was those two against Hobgoblin, right?
Yeah.
Or she came in to help at the end and stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Because he's having issues with his spider sense because of everything that's been going on. It's been on overdrive.
Right.
So somehow it's malfunctioning. And he's basically, it's continuing off of the last series in a way, as he's having this mental breakdown because there's so much going on. Right. And, he has, her name is Starling, right?
Starling.
Right? Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
So she's trying to help him out, and he's going to need some therapy and stuff like that. So it's just a lot. And I get it. It's like he's a younger superhero and he's a lot to deal with right now. And the artwork is gorgeous in the book.
Oh,
and I love the action in it too. It's a very well written book. It's well balanced. And I can't wait to see where it goes. It's going to be in the gang war also.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with it. And I think my number 4 is it was actually Barnstormers. So there's that.
We did get another super chat. Yes, thank you for welcoming us back, Bavarian. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's good to be back. That's
it is.
The thing. Like, we haven't even talked that much with each other. We've had chats here and there and discussing when we were going to come back and things like that. And we actually had issues with the channel for a couple days, and we had to solve that. So there was it's just good to talk comics again, and that's what it is. And I honestly, I'll say this every time, like, when we go through these comic books, like, it helps me remember the stuff that happens.
It makes you digest it more.
Yeah, right. So then when the next ones come out, you actually remember what goes on. So that's why I love about this show, because we get to talk about all these books.
Yeah. It's been weird not doing the show. I will say that.
Tuesdays have been really strange. It's just like, oh man, I'm just going to bed, I guess. Okay.
It's like, what am I doing on Tuesday now?
I'm like, why am I going to bed so early?
Right.
All right. So we went through our number 4, and now we're going to talk about Avengers issue 4. I actually didn't even realize that it came out this week. I must have missed it at my shop. Because Avengers is on the top rack because it goes by alphabetical, and I missed picking it up. And
nothing
I have
really
to pick it up
happens
this week. I like this story. I
really like this story when it has to do with the Avengers. I don't like the villains. And this issue is very driven by the villains. I'm like, I'm not so interested in them.
It was driven by the villains. I actually like the villains too. I think they're interesting and unique.
They're different.
But it was very villain focused. I agree with that, but still a good read.
Probably the reason why he's doing that is so you can get a better understanding of who they are and what they do. So when it comes time for this battle to happen, it's like you understand what's happening, I guess, So I'll pick it up tomorrow. Hopefully they'll still have a copy there.
Yeah.
We did get this question a couple of times. Are you guys going to see Blue Beetle? Yes, but not opening weekend. I'm not going to be able to see it until the end of the month. So, but yeah, I'm using my AMC stubs. I saw Barbie, so don't worry. I saw Oppenheimer. But no, I'll
I finally saw Guardians Volume 3.
That's a solid movie.
That was a good movie.
With Blue Beetle, I feel like there's not as much of a rush because it's I don't think it's going to be connected to much, so I don't think there's going to be a ton of spoilers, but I think it'll be a fun time at the movies, hopefully.
Yeah.
I like Guardians. I liked, what's his name? The villain? The High Evolutionary.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I forget who the villain was.
Yeah. No, seriously, I thought he was great for that part. So, you haven't seen it, Brent?
I have not seen it. I have not seen Wakanda Forever. I've not seen The Flash. The last one we watched, I think, was Quantumania.
Well,
that's a sad one to be the last one because that was just okay.
Guardians is on Disney Plus now, so you can just watch it.
Yeah,
whenever.
it's just those are together movies, and we don't have a whole lot of time to watch movies, so it's
Yeah.
we got to be picky and choosy. Yeah.
Yep, I understand. Totally get that. What is this? I didn't even hear about this. I'm looking
Me either.
forward to
I
Scott
didn't
Snyder's
either.
new comic series, Canary and Dungeon.
We're out of the loop. I haven't even heard about it.
Never heard of it. Yeah. Fill us in.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So what are we going on now? Number 3. I'll kick this one off for me. Number 3 for me was Superman, the annual. So that's super easy. No pun intended there. So stupid. Oh God, Kat, what was your number 3?
Mine's Silk. I've been really liking this series. I feel like it does a good job at being a mini series, telling this concise story about Silk and her brother and this villain, but at the same time still has some sort of resemblance to previous mini series. They reference other stuff, so it's the one mini series that was like, oh cool, like it kind of feels like an ongoing. The art's pretty solid. I like it. I think it's good.
I have not read this issue yet, but I have enjoyed it for what it is. Yeah, it's better than the last couple we've gotten.
I only read the first issue. Unfortunately, I didn't go back. I think I missed the second one or whatever. There is a few books that during the summer I just didn't have time to read.
Yeah,
and
same.
so those happen to be
Not the most
where,
important ones.
Yeah, those
No.
are the books where I'm like, okay, since I didn't read it, I'm not reading it anymore.
Right.
So it's just the way it goes, because I know I can't really catch back up unless it's series that I really enjoy. Like,
Yeah.
I think last week I was a couple issues back on behind on World Tree, and I read issues like 2 and 3. No, issues 3 and 4 back to back. And I really enjoy that series. So I was happy I at least got to do that. So
Yeah, I still haven't read issue 4. It's
Oh,
sitting over there
man.
in my read pile.
holy shit. You need to read that last. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good one to read.
Okay.
Things start to really like make sense a little bit more. So
Okay.
it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Here's
Oh,
our
yeah.
Canary and Dungeon is another one of Scott Snyder's Comixology digital books.
Okay.
The Dark Horse will be bringing it to print.
All right.
Okay. Very good.
Cool.
All right. So everyone went for their 3?
No, Avengers. So we
Oh,
already talked about
okay.
it.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So then we talked about Miles. Spider-Man Annual. So we all read this. I'm actually surprised that Kat went through.
I didn't know it was going to be connected to this event, and I didn't like it.
Didn't you see the banner that says Contest of Chaos
on the cover? Yeah.
No,
Unless you got a variant.
Because I put it on my pull list, so I just like get my pile and I just like kind of leave. So I was just like, oh, and I saw the banner when I was looking through it. I was like, oh no, because I've been reading Spider-Man, so I was like, oh, I'll get it, and I'll get the other one. I will get a Spider-Gwen. Just we don't get enough Spider-Gwens, so I will pick that up. But yeah, this is just an action book. It's just an action book.
This is lame. I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. Yeah.
There's no meat to the story. It's just like, hey, we're going to put Wolverine and we're going to put Spider-Man here, and they're going to fight each other for a stupid orb. And it's kind of just like, where are we going with this? Like, if she wants them to bring this orb, why does she need 2 of them to fight each other to bring it to her?
Yeah, and I also didn't like Logan being like, why does it have to be this guy? And Spider-Man, why does it have to be this guy? And it was just, come on.
And even the fight wasn't even that great. The artwork wasn't that great. I made this a thing, like the backgrounds. There was no background art. There was just nothing there. It was all basically colors. And it just made me really question, am I going to get the other parts to this? And it's very possible that I might be getting the Iron Man one, because I could have put it on my FOC. So that means then, I committed to buying it. So I'll honor that. But going forward, like, I probably won't buy those anymore.
Yeah, I don't think I pre-ordered any of these. So we'll see. But yeah, I wasn't impressed. And honestly, I was like falling asleep reading it. I mean, I'm not meaning that, cruel or anything to the creative team. It's just, I was literally just, it was not engaging me. Yeah, I was tired, but it wasn't engaging me either.
So when you have a book like this and you have your premier characters like a Wolverine, like a Spider-Man, right? You want some really good fighting, really good action, really good detailed
story too.
artwork, the story. You want it to be a little bit more in depth, especially if you're doing a story that takes place through all the annuals. Like I get them, I give them credit for doing something like that, right? But for $5 a book, because that's what it costs for this book, it just didn't offer enough for the reader, I felt.
Yeah, I enjoy when they do those connected annual stories too. It's like a throwback. It's something they
Yeah.
used to do back in the '90s too, and I enjoyed it then. Um, but yeah, I just want a richer story. Like if you do like a Contest of Champions type of story, which this is supposed to be, it made more sense in that context. When oh, they're transported to this place, or they got to fight for this reason.
Right.
This just didn't feel like there was enough of a reason or a cause behind this, so the story kind of fell apart a little bit.
Absolutely. I agree 100% there. All right, so let's move forward. I think we're on number 2 now.
Yes.
So Kat, what was your number 2?
Mine was Superman. We already talked about it.
All right. Brett?
Guardians of the Galaxy number 5, I think.
I stopped reading that after issue 1.
I enjoy it. I don't It gives me Firefly vibes, and I like Firefly. So
gotcha.
This issue, they're getting to the meat of the Groot situation, and Peter thinks he can save Groot, and Rocket is convinced that Groot is dead and gone and wants no part of it. So there's a lot of emotional conflict in this issue,
right?
So I enjoy that part. That was the bulk of the story here, was Peter trying to get everybody on board with trying to save Groot, and everybody else being like, there's no saving Groot. We just kind of end him. So
that sounds better to me than the opening issue. Like I didn't like the opening issue at all. I just, they're like flying away and they're trying to save people. And I was just like, I don't know. It just wasn't for me,
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, I totally get that. Like I said, it gave me Firefly vibes from issue 1, so I thought I'd stick with it, and I'm glad that I did, because it's getting to that point, and I think we're gonna get, by the end of this arc or story or whatever, however long this is, I think we'll get Groot back in some form.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
He's not going to be whatever he is right now forever. Right. All right, and my number 2 was The Madness. So I really enjoyed that book. I love when I get recommended a book and I have no expectations and I go into it, and I loved it. But I can tell you that after those first few pages, I'm like, we need to get somewhere very quick in this thing, because I'm getting lost. I'm getting bored here.
Yeah, they could have, cut out about half of that conversation.
Oh my God, yeah. It took forever. All right, so I think now we're at number 1, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let's kick it off. Kat, what's your number 1?
Mine, believe it or not, is Spider-Man. So
wow,
mine too, actually.
Wow.
Oh, nice. All right.
Oh man.
I mean, look, it's compared to the previous issues, it's good, and also there wasn't anything that blew my mind.
It was. Unfortunately, the week that we come back, it's a week like that. But
which is a shame, because there's been so many weeks when we were gone where I was like, oh man, I wish the show was on, because like I read this and it was like so good. I want to shout it to the rooftops, but it happens.
So my number 1 is something that neither of you guys would ever read, but this is Ghost Rider and Wolverine.
I wouldn't read that.
This is Weapons of Vengeance Alpha. So it's not really an event. It's a Benjamin Percy thing. He writes Wolverine and Ghost Rider. So this is a book that takes place it's Alpha, then it's Ghost Rider, then it's Wolverine, and then I think it's Omega issue. And what's kind of cool about it is it's a story that takes place in the past, this issue, but then by the time you get to the end of it, it's present day. And it's about this boy who is in this orphanage, and he has this power, and the social worker brings the boy to Xavier's Institute, right? Wolverine's there, and he's like, I don't like this kid. I don't know why he smells bad and stuff like that. And so in the issue, what happens is Xavier sits there and tells the social worker that this boy has a supernatural ability. He's not a mutant. And then they wind up taking the kid away. You wind up seeing what's going on with Johnny Blaze at the time. And then he has this vision, this dark vision. And we wind up seeing that the kid, when he transforms, right, he gets angry or whatever it is, he does these very demonic stuff and he has no control over it. And so he tries to kill like the X-Men and Wolverine and stuff like that. And then Ghost Rider and Wolverine cross paths. They fight at first, but then they have this common thing about stopping this boy. And it looked like the social worker took this boy in for adoption, like took her like it was his own kid, her own kid. And we find out that the kid murders the social worker. And now it's present day. And Johnny and Wolverine have to figure out why this kid killed the only loved one in his life. Very interesting story, very dark, very gritty artwork. You know, you have a team up book here. This is kind of like what I was expecting with that Wolverine and Spider-Man annual. You know, you get a much better story here. It's really, really good. You can't help but feel for this boy. All he wants is a home. And everywhere he goes, he gets turned down. So he does nothing but kind of just, you know, destroy everything around him, you know?
Yeah.
So really good stuff there. I really enjoyed it.
Speaking of Wolverine, Mark Davis asked if we had heard of Predator versus Wolverine. Are you going to pick that up, Mike?
Hell yeah, I'll pick that up. That's cool, man. That's like something I've been hoping for since like the 90s. That's something that would
totally in 90s.
Yeah. And I would love to see those two fight. Like, who will win in that? That's a tough match right there.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. Well, I think we're getting to the time where we're going to talk about we did all number one. So I think it's time we're going to talk about news. But before, I do have a Kickstarter, so let's get on to that. I don't need any tips. I want to share my screen. They're again not my computer, so they're giving me all the fun stuff here. I think it's working. But yeah, I got a Kickstarter, Beast in Snow. It's Beauty and the Beast, Snow White. Is it showing or no?
It is now. I had to click it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. But yes, it's my Kickstarter, Beast in Snow. It's about a vampire, Snow White, and maybe some werewolves involved with Beauty and the Beast. Not safe for work book. Go check it out. It's by far our best Kickstarter. We're gearing like to 2,000 backers, which is crazy. We're at $54,000. So go check it out. It's already funded. It's a book that's happening. So I will put the link in the description if you want more. I'm trying not to show too much because I like YouTube and not safe for work. I'm trying not to get this not monetized. So
I love that main picture. I think that art is gorgeous.
That's Sajic, right?
Yeah, that's Sajic, which is crazy. So who's done a lot of stuff for Top Cow, who's done Sunstone,
did a lot
Arlene,
of
Witchblade. It's been crazy how well that cover is doing. It's such a cool cover. We really been very, very lucky with this campaign.
That's awesome.
It's literally been a roller coaster ride for sure. So hopefully guys can go check it out.
Do you have a Kickstarter right now, Brent, or no?
I do not, actually. Believe it or not.
Gotcha.
Been a little bit.
I'm sure one will be coming up at some point.
Oh, yeah.
We'll promote.
Always.
I have a comment here. This is, or it's a question. Do you guys have a positive or negative thoughts on everyone in a superhero comic being a hero?
Do you guys have a positive
or negative thoughts on?
I don't think they are. I think we live in a world where there's a lot of morally gray characters. So I think there's a good mix.
I forget which book touched on that, but there was a scene in one of the books this week where they flash back to, it might have been Red Goblin. They flash back to the Loners support group for former heroes and showed Darkhawk. Was that Red Goblin, Mike?
Yes. Yeah, that was Red Goblin. Yeah.
So it was interesting because they had all decided not to be heroes anymore, and one of them became a villain. So I think it's better when there are characters that go a different route. And I think it would be more interesting to see more characters that were just like, no, I ain't gonna do anything. I'm just gonna chill.
I like that. I like when characters either go from being good to bad, or I like villains going from bad to good. So, for instance, like Norman Osborn right now, I think that's kind of cool. I like how he's exploring, the good side of things, and I love how he's constantly proving himself. And that's fine. I love the anti-hero too. There's, as long as the character is written well, that's the important thing to me. You know what I'm saying? So
I agree. We got another,
before we go to the super chat, I like Tevia's question, which is just why does Marvel?
Why does Marvel?
Just why does Marvel?
Why does Marvel?
Well, let's see the super chat.
Let's see this.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Frank.
Yeah, Frank. Welcome back, guys. Super Power Beatdown did a video short on YouTube of Wolvie beating a predator. What did you think of Fire and Ice?
The new series, I think, coming out.
Yeah.
Did not
I think
get a
the first
chance to read
issue
it.
is already out, actually. I did not read it.
Yeah.
I think it comes out in September. I just did my list. I think it comes out September. I think they were a backup story in Power Girl. The Fire and Ice.
No, there's
Smallville.
Is it that, or there was a Fire and Ice book from Dynamite that came out?
No, there's a Fire and Ice.
That Fire and Ice. Which one are we talking about? The one that's from DC or the one that's from Dynamite?
Right.
Dynamite.
Probably.
I think it's Dynamite. And I have it, and I didn't get a chance to read it.
Yeah, I passed on it.
That's bad timing for Dynamite.
Sorry, Frank. Can't give you, unless you want to know about the DC Fire and Ice.
Yeah.
But
Dynamite. They did say Dynamite. Yeah. And if you said what did you think, if it's a book that already came out, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So awesome. Thanks for watching, Frank, of course. Any other questions you want to ask, just go for it, man. Because we didn't give you a really good answer for that one.
No, not the greatest answer, but thank you for the super chat. All right, well, we're going to get into the news here. So first, this was news from a little while ago, but it was big news. It's only media news we're going to talk about, which is that Lois Lane and Superman was cast, which I love that they're getting a Superman that is not known. I did see Pearl, though, which is so funny because we had an inside joke about his character while we were watching the movie. I'm like, oh, my God, it's that character, not to go into the inside joke. But then also Mrs. Maisel, she's going to be Lois, which I think makes completely sense. So I think it's
perfect
cool.
casting for Lois, personally.
Yeah.
I love her character in that show. So I definitely think she can pull off Lois for sure.
I agree, for sure. All right. Well, Mike, did you have any other opinions on that?
No, not really. It's fine. I mean,
it's fine, Gasly.
It's fine. There's so much news now. It's like,
it's like there's a lot. We're gonna go through it for sure. Yeah. So next is Strange Academy returns with guest stars. You guys like Strange Academy? Excited for it?
I hope so, because I did not like that Miles issue.
Oh no.
Is this an actual Strange Academy book?
And it's gonna be. Yeah, I think it's gonna be. No, it's gonna be one shots. It's not gonna be really a book. I think it's like one of them was the Miles one. So it's gonna be continuing.
So this is the one that already basically came out. Is that how old?
Yeah, but there's more one shots. So Moon Knight's coming out. Spider-Man. They're gonna be continuing doing them. So
I hated
Miles was the first
one. I hated the Miles one.
Yeah, I didn't like the Miles one. I thought Miles was completely out of character, and it just did not live up to the previous series.
What was going on in that book just made absolutely no sense to me. I was like, this is not what Strange Academy is.
The only thing that made sense to me was how they interacted. Like they were all at this academic bowl, so it was like, okay. I can.
Thor was running around naked and stuff.
Yeah, that was weird.
Why?
Why is that even necessary? That's it. Just
no.
I'm gonna mention this one just because we actually been getting a lot of people commenting about this tonight. But Spider-Boy is getting his own ongoing book. I want to see what happens tomorrow, obviously, and see what's going to happen with the characters. I'm so happy that the book is doing really well, but I think the book is doing really well because it's a mysterious character, and once you find out who the identity is, I don't know if it'll do as well. But no, I mean, I'll pick it up. I think it's cool, but I do think there's characters with like more story. I think Spider-Gwen's a great example. Silk, that I'm like, oh, I wish they had an ongoing series because like Spider-Man is just this random character. Why not give him a mini series first and see how that does, and then give
Right.
him ongoing? But you're just like randomly giving him an ongoing now.
So weird to throw him into an ongoing. And after reading, what is it, 31 Spider-Man this week, it's like, okay, I mean, at least there's, a story here as to where he comes from, but I'm not sure I like where that's heading.
The only reason why I think it's because it's Dan Slott. And
well, it's also selling well.
And it's
like
selling well. Just like Spider-Gwen came out, she caught fire. She had her own series, and then for some reason they canceled it. And then they had multiple other series, but I don't know if people really know what to do with her, and that's the problem. So if Dan Slott continues to write that book and they decide not to cancel it, then it is what it is. I mean, at this point, like, I would love to see an ongoing Spider-Gwen series, but
yes,
who's going to write her and what are they going to do with her? That's the key.
I mean,
well, that is one of the news pieces. We're getting a mini series from her again. And this is actually written by the person who's writing Mighty Morphin Power Rangers right now, which I really like her writing.
Yeah.
And it's like at least more to do with her music. It looks like it's going to be more about like going on tour. I'm like, all right, that's at least a different direction, because that's something I've been really disliking about the previous Spider-Gwen books is that they all just felt fluff, and I hope this could be a little bit more than fluff. And yeah, it's not even. I think it's more that they're not giving Spider-Gwen any room to breathe. It's like the Miss Marvel thing, which we'll get into. We'll talk about Miss Marvel and her new stuff that's coming out. But yeah, it's just like you're not really giving her a chance. You're not giving a lot of these characters a chance. But then Spider-Boy is getting a chance, even though you know why it's doing well because it's a mystery, and again, it's Dan Slott. So we'll see. We'll see how that ends up going. I do want to talk more about Spider-Boy because he's also joining a new Champions book. So why not throw another thing for Spider-Boy?
Sure. Let's do it. Let's put them in all the things.
What they do. It's like they'll get all the newest and hottest characters and they push them, It's just like the same when the original Champions came out. Like Miss Marvel was in it, Sam Alexander was in it. Like you had all those brand new characters, and now, well, Spider-Boy is going to be. Who else is in this team?
All new characters that haven't existed before. A lot of them like Captain Marvel Boy or something like that. And
Captain Marvel Boy.
There's a Wolverine type character. There's I don't know what that is. I'm looking through the pictures. Yeah, I don't know. There is somebody wearing like a very that Captain Marvel character. They're showing that character, but I don't know. I'm trying to find the list of characters. Do they list them in this article, Kat?
I don't know. I saw some pictures of them. Let me double check. Again, I saw the thumbnail being Captain Marvel Boy.
Right.
I don't think they actually do. I think they're just saying, oh, they'll feature fresh characters, but they're going to be characters like Vision, Captain Marvel. So they're not actually saying who they are. They're just saying who they're like related to. Iron Man, Teen Prodigies. So
that's the
interesting.
Captain Marvel one.
Yeah.
That's interesting there.
And also, I don't want to, because people are saying like, oh, some people like him, some people don't. I don't hate Spider-Boy. I think he's a fine character. I just don't know if he's deserving of an ongoing book.
Who's the female with the? Is that like a Storm character with the gray hair, with the gray silver hair? It looks
I'm not sure.
Image almost looks like it's done by like a Peach Momoko or something.
It does look similar to that. I don't know if it's her.
Yeah, it is.
It is Peach. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like a Storm type character. It looks like there's somebody in armor. So.
But there's all these characters people like already. Why not just use that?
Right.
Hey,
or introduce like one new character, right? Like that's I don't remember last time I've gotten into a book where they introduce only new characters. I know you guys like Strange Academy. That's probably the last.
Yeah.
Time.
Looks like there's an Asgardian, maybe. I don't know. Maybe the Wolverine character is going to be Gabby.
But you never know. It could be good. I mean, you never knew what to expect when Strange Academy came out, right? So it's kind of you never know until you actually try it. That's why I tell people, like, especially with these new issues, it's like it may sound dumb, and then you read it and you're like, hey, you know what? It's actually pretty good. So again, there's so many younger readers out there that, it's like, why not try other things? So
if the variant cover for Guardians of the Galaxy is one of the characters, we're getting a baby Groot and a Star-Lord mask. So
Okay. Well, we'll see where it goes. I'll
yeah.
give it a shot. I want to, I like a good teen book. So
Yeah.
we got a lot of new titles from Spider people. So let's go through those. Spider-Woman's getting a series, and we'll talk about Superior Spider-Man. Superior, I have a lot of thoughts on that because I feel like I hope they do something different with him. I hope they continue his saga, and I hope they're not just saying, "Oh, people like Superior Spider-Man, we should pick it. We should do that." I think the reason why Superior Spider-Man was successful was because it was something different, and
Yeah.
I hope they're not just relying on the fans of Superior. And when it comes to Spider-Woman, I'm excited for her to come back. I like the short enough from the Amazing Spider-Man this week, and Jessica deserves some love.
Yeah, I'm curious about the Spider-Woman, and we haven't seen a series for her in a while, so
Yeah.
I'm excited for that one. And Superior, I could take or leave. I like his reasoning that he feels like returning to that time will unlock these mysteries in his brain. So at least there's a reason for it to happen instead of just let's just do more Superior because that sold well.
Because he forgot a lot of stuff that happened,
Right?
but it was because he was Superior Spider-Man.
Right.
So I thought it was cool. And listen, I like the way Dan Slott writes Dr. Octopus.
Yeah.
He makes him such an asshole. Like, I love the way he talks. His whole
He's
diet
smug and arrogant. Yeah.
is like he's like, you idiots, and all this other stuff. Like, he brings a lot of emotion and in funny humor to the character, where before he was just so bland, and it's just like, I'm gonna stop Spider-Man. I'm smart. But
this is 3 books that Dan Slott's writing now, because you have the Spider-Boy book, the Superior Spider-Man book, and Spider-Man. The most he's ever written at the same time is 2. So this is 3.
Yeah, I guess if there's something that he can do, it is Spider-Man.
We also know Dan Slott, and this is just what he says. Like, I don't know if it's true, but he always says, "Oh man, these deadlines always kill me." So this is like giving him 3 books now.
We'll see.
He's probably writing feverishly right now,
Right.
trying to get ahead of the game.
But it goes back to like always the complaint we have is like when they find a writer and they find someone selling, they're like, "Let's give you every book," and you're like, then you burn that writer out. It happens time and time again. You did it with Tom Taylor of all people, the person we're always like, "Oh, put Tom Taylor on that book," and you did that with him.
Yeah. I mean, if Dan Slott's going to write anything, again, at least just have him write Spider-Man, because
Spider-Man's ending. I didn't even know that. So Spider-Man ends.
Oh,
So he does only have 2 books. Okay. So
really?
This
I didn't
week
know
is
that
the
was
last
ending.
issue. Yeah, this week.
Oh,
is the last
it is?
issue.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
I never knew
I forgot
how
about
long
that.
that book was going to go.
I just saw that today, and I totally forgot about it. Yeah.
I didn't even know it was ending. Okay,
So
that makes sense.
It's going to end with Spider-Boy.
I take back what I said. Two books is fine.
Interesting.
All right, let's get into. Unless there's Spider-Woman, more thoughts on that?
No, I'm just excited for it because I like the character, and I like how it's cool. She's going to be searching for her baby, but I think that's going to get resolved quickly, and it's just going to lead into something else.
Some more Spider-Man news, because it seems like there was a lot actually. Hallows Eve is returning, not that she was gone for that long. And there is going to be a gang war event for Spider-Man. The gang war event has happened 20,000 times. That's not any new news. And you guys like Hallows Eve, so I think that's more on your side.
Hallows Eve is just a one shot. I remember reading that, and it's coming out during
because of the gang
Halloween.
Yeah.
Oh, during Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the gang war, it's an event that happened back in the 80s. And
it happens in a lot of books. It's not just a Spider-Man event.
No,
how many times it happens in like Daredevil?
Yeah.
But this whole wedding situation kind of kicked off the beginning of the gang war. So I'm curious to see how it's written in a modern day version of this. And
and
again,
I was just going to add if Kingpin comes back into it too. But
Brant.
Sure, we haven't seen that in a while.
And if Zeb Wells can turn this run around, hopefully it will be the street level stuff.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next thing. We got the Autobots full lineup for Transformers. So I'm gonna read Transformers. I mean, you got what's his face from Do It Powerbomb, like I'm Darren Warren Johnson, like I'm here for it. I actually got the issue from San Diego, like I got an ash can. I never read it because I didn't have time, but I have it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm excited. I'm excited because it's like a throwback to G1 Transformers, and you throw an RC in there as well. I think it's gonna be fun. I'm ready for the journey, and I'm curious to see what Johnson can do with the Transformers characters, and I want to learn more about this new universe, this shared universe with Void Rivals and stuff. So,
yeah, I'm totally on board with this series. When I saw that Daniel Warren Johnson was writing this, I was like, no freaking way. And like when I read that first issue, I was like, I wish there was a show that week, because I read that first issue and it took me a little bit to process what I just read in that comic. I'm like, whoa, wait a second. I'm like, Jetfire just showed up in this comic book and he flew away. So I was like, that means we're starting this whole Transformers thing. I was freaking so pumped. And then I turned to the end of the book and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, you got this Transformers book, you got this Cobra Commander book, you got this freaking G.I. Joe stuff.
And Williamson on those. That's
yes.
Like, I'm there. It's like two things I love: the writer and the concept. So,
so good.
It's crazy.
All right, well, let's get it. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on, including Miss Marvel returning. So she died. She's returning.
She died for about 30 seconds.
Literally died for like a freaking week, and now she's coming back. She did come back in X-Men already. I didn't love what they did. It was like, oh yeah, we gotta get kind of connect her to her old story, but she needs to be an X-Men, and it looks like that's what they're going to be doing with the miniseries. I'm kind of lost. I think everyone's at a loss for words of what they're doing with Miss Marvel right now.
So it kind of makes sense in the way that the only reason the Inhumans became as big as they were was because they lost the rights to the X-Men in media, and now that they got it back, now they're turning everybody to mutants, and the Inhumans are just gone. So it kind of makes sense in that context, and I do like the fact that one of them is suppressed because the other one was dominant, and seeing what happens with her going forward. So at least there's that. But the whole death thing and coming back and just erasing everybody's memories of it and all this stuff was kind of lame, you know. But
that piggybacks off of, do you know Miss Marvel died? Don't worry, Moon Knight's gonna die too.
But
he'll be back though. It's just gonna be like the beginning of the next chapter of his life, though.
Moon Knight has died so many times.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of his character, that he dies. I mean, that's the way he became Moon Knight, was dying and coming back. So that's a non-starter. You know, it's a non-issue. So whatever.
I do think Mr. Negative brings a cool point. The actress who plays Miss Marvel actually is writing the book, which I actually think is really cool.
Oh, I did not know that. Yeah.
She's co-writing it, so it's gonna be like someone else is writing it with her. And I'm like, oh, actually, the person who writes, I believe the Liz Allen book is writing the Miss Marvel book. So in that regard, like, I think that's exciting and hopefully brings people, like, I know I'm being negative about it because I'm upset that Miss Marvel died, but I do hope the series is good and it focuses. I just don't think it will focus on Miss Marvel, but I hope they do a balancing act of, like, she's a mutant, what's her place? But I think they're just going to kind of stick her with the X-Men, and we'll talk about what's going on with the X-Men in a bit, but there's so much going on with the X-Men. I don't want her to get lost, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Well, trust me, they won't lose her. I'm sure they won't.
Let's move on to the next thing, which is She-Hulk is relaunching, but with the same exact creative team.
But they're actually naming it the Sensational She-Hulk again.
Yeah, they're leaning into the Byrne
esque
elements of her. Yeah.
So I mean, if she's trying to even go more towards that route, then fine. You know.
Yeah.
I read every single issue. I stuck through it, guys, and I'll start it again. And it was kind of funny because it was like, oh yeah, she's gonna fall in love with that guy. And just as she was getting googly eyes for him, we found out the master plan there at the end of it. end of it
I
all?
like the book enough. I don't think it's Rainbow's best work, but I also don't think it's the worst book ever. Like I have a fun enough time reading it, so
It's a love story, basically. It's really what it is.
It is, which is so interesting because Runaways had the opportunity to be even more of a love story, and like we saw Nico and Carolina like a few times, but like it mostly was like a family book and even more of a superhero book. So it's interesting. This is the book they decide to do like the most romance because Nico and Carolina are definitely like bigger fan favorite characters.
Yeah. It's still better than the last She-Hulk we got, but go ahead.
David says, missed you all so much. So great to be back.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. And then again, guys, thank you so much for watching. We have almost 50 viewers. I think we did hit that earlier.
Oh, nice.
And thank you for all your comments. We do look at the chat. We just can't answer every single question.
Especially this week. There's a lot to go through.
The heavy chat. You know, we always say, though, if you like, we don't ask for money, but if you definitely want your comment definitely answered, you can always send a super chat because it highlights that particular message. Yeah. So thank you in advance for that.
And you can support us more if you want to check out patreon.com as well.
That is true. We do have
There's way worse than She-Hulk, but that doesn't say much.
Probably. Say much.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, no, that's true. There's good books, there's bad books, and there's in between books for sure. All right, moving on to Titans is having an event. So they are the new Justice League. Makes sense. They're having their own event.
Yeah.
I see that we're just like,
yeah, that's cool. It's their first big event.
We'll see.
It has. It's not even that great.
I know. That's what I was saying. It hasn't really done much. So
there's just like, because you have Titans, right? And then it takes a break, and then it's like, oh hey, we're gonna launch an event with them, and it's like, but they even barely been in the dawn of DC yet. Like it's just, oh man, it's just all these events with all these companies. It's so frustrating, man. You know.
And then it's the whole Beast World thing, which I don't even care about. So I don't know. I'm disappointed with that book. I was hoping it would be like one of my favorite books. I think I put too much expectation on it.
It's only 2 issues in, though, isn't it?
But we're on a 2-month break, so
yeah. But I mean, Tom Taylor and Ivan Rice. I mean, I love both of them, but
his artwork is so good, though, man.
Yeah, it is.
So let's move on to the next thing, which is there's a new Punisher, which I actually really love this news. David Pepose, a friend, is writing it, but also I love the idea that they really are giving weight to the previous Punisher series. Seems like they're following the lead of that one and getting someone else in the shoes. I think was a really smart idea. So I'm very excited about this, and hopefully there's some tie-in.
It's just some random guy too.
Yeah,
it's like some agent or whatever it is.
Some shield agent.
Yeah. So I think that's really awesome. Something different. And then I like how his symbol is not quite the same as Frank's was, the old one, but it's similar. And I'm excited for this book. I really am.
Yeah, it's like he took a shield uniform and just kind of modified it to add a skull to it. Yeah.
Right.
That's
kind of cool. And I wonder if we will get hints or drops of what's going on with Frank in this series.
I'm sure there will be. Yeah. I think so. Someone did ask about Thanos. I'm not sure if it's a miniseries or ongoing, but Thanos is getting a series.
Surely it's a mini.
There's no way that's an ongoing. That's definitely.
I couldn't imagine that.
I mean, what is he going to do? Sit around his throne all day and think and look at
snap his fingers?
Yeah, Infinity Gauntlet all day. Like, what? Seriously. I mean, I'm going to check it out, though. I think Thanos is a cool villain.
It's Christopher Cantwell?
Yes.
Doing this? Okay.
He was the
Black
Iron
Spider
Man guy,
says, wait,
he?
Punisher is not Frank? Yeah, he is the Iron Man guy. But also Hellcat. And I liked his Hellcat a lot, so.
Yeah. What did you say, Mike?
I said he wrote Iron Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right, let's move on to the next thing, which is Wonder Woman is getting a teen book. Oh, actually, no one wanted to talk about that. I'll take that off.
I was the only one, so I removed it.
Next, pretend I didn't say that, is Doctor Doom has his own X-Men team.
Hey,
Because
that's
why
cool.
not?
Yeah, hell yeah, man. If he's the leader, if there's a Doctor Doom book, I'm going to check it out. If he's written well, that's good. I mean, I feel like we don't see enough Doctor Doom these days.
We really don't, honestly. I'll agree with you on that one. We definitely don't get enough of Doctor Doom.
If there's ever another Fantastic Four movie, we definitely will.
Yeah,
if ever.
He's gonna blow up everywhere.
All right, moving on to the Supergirl book, which I'm really, really excited for. Mariko Tamaki, who wrote, in my opinion, the best Supergirl story there ever is, which was Girl of Steel. And I believe it's Skylar Patridge, who did a lot of Wonder Woman stuff. I don't know if it's a miniseries or like a one shot, but it's a one shot. I'm stoked for this. I love Mariko's writing for Supergirl, so very excited.
I don't know. It's a one
No,
shot.
I don't know. It's one issue.
I don't know. It's how much is it gonna be? Is it gonna be like $6 or $7? Like, do I want to spend for one issue? To me, that's almost not worth it for a character that I'm not heavily vested in. And Mariko Tamaki, like, I get it. Like, she wrote good Supergirl, but like she also did Detective Comics, and that wasn't that
She-Hulk.
great. She-Hulk. Like She-Hulk was a good one because when I read this article, the first thing that popped in my mind was She-Hulk. And I'm like, that was god awful. So but Cap makes a good point. She did a good Supergirl story. So this is the character she knows how to write then.
Right.
But I don't know if I'm going to be spending my money on it.
I think it's a shame that they're only doing a one shot. I wish it was a mini series, and I hope it leads to something else. But yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with it. Bran, are you gonna read this one?
I don't know. It'll depend on the week, I think. So I don't know anything about it. I didn't read like what the description anything was yet, so I'll check it out though.
Next up is that Marvel has a new solo series for this LGBTQ hero Nightshade, but it is a new hero. It's interesting because again, I think there's always the argument from people when the Tim Drake stuff happens, or John, so why don't you make new characters? And then a new character will be made and no one's gonna read it. I mean, I hope people read it, but I just like, I feel more invested in some other characters. Like, again, I'd rather see a Nico or Carolina or just other characters that I already know. And I'm just like, oh, okay, who's Nightshade? Why should I read this story? So I don't know. I think it's a catch-22 on that regard.
I mean, I don't mind new characters being created as long as, just like any other character, that they're written well and there's something that someone can get attached to besides them being gay, right?
It's always hard to write a new character for Marvel or DC though, because it's just like, well, what's their purpose in the bigger story?
Right.
Like a Miss Marvel was a good example because like, oh, they were attached to this Inhuman stuff. They're attached to Captain Marvel. It's like, what is this character attached to? It's so much harder than like an Image comic or whatever, where it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna follow this character because it's just a story. So yeah, it's just a little harder to introduce new characters.
And I like how they. Oh, sorry, Brand. Did you want to say something?
I was just gonna say it looks like the character debuted in the Marvel Pride book this year.
Okay. So I did read the Marvel Pride book, but I don't remember them very well.
Okay.
So like, I like when, for instance, when they do it very subtle, like so for Alicia, like in the Black Cat series, you find out that she was bi and they had this story where she had
they do a full story with it.
Yeah, and it was very well written. It's very organic, and that's what I like about it. And then they do, like, for instance, I know everybody knows this, but the whole Iceman situation, like, it was very much thrown in your face. This is Iceman. This is who he is now. And it's just like, even in that astonishing Iceman issue with the Fall of X thing, it was just like all in your face. And it's just like, I just don't like how that is done. Like, do it organically, build a relationship with somebody, that's fine. Like, I don't know. It kind of just bugs me when they force it on you, but when it's done naturally, it's totally fine.
Yeah, I think it depends on how you write it. And I'm obviously all for queer characters being in comics. And I think, Yeah, it depends on if you're doing it for the headline or if you want to tell a really good story with these characters. So
Exactly.
Well, that goes with anything. I was just gonna say that goes with anything. So
yeah, that goes for the deaths. That goes for the marriages. That's not just for
that's like the shock value. Yeah.
Exactly.
It goes literally for anything. All right, let's move on to the next thing, which is a new Sentry is being introduced.
This is a different concept because from what I remember reading, it's the Sentry's powers are being spread to like multiple people. So that is a different take on this character.
Yeah.
You know,
I always liked the concept of the Sentry, that this whole history was retconned into the Marvel universe, and that was the story. I thought that was interesting, but what they did with that character going forward was a little iffy. But this is at least something different, and we're still getting some semblance of that character
right,
in these other characters. So I'll definitely check it out.
I'll check this one out for sure too.
And I think that's a good example of introducing a new character with a concept that people already know. Infamous Mike Manhattan actually brought a good point to that too. Remember the new Age heroes like Sideways, a bunch of new characters, and they barely lasted, which is such a shame because Sideways was a fun character. And no one read it because again, it wasn't attached to anything. There's a way to introduce new characters. I think Sam Alexander, Miss Marvel, really that whole bunch of characters, they did a good job. Vision is a great example. Young Avengers. Like there's just ways to introduce these new characters, and sadly I don't think Sideways was the right way, even though it was a good story.
I like Sideways. Remember, I mean, we all read that and we were like, wow, he's kind of like a Spider-Man personality, and he had this girlfriend next door, and then it just kind of ended.
Cool power.
That was that.
Yeah, and he's popped up here and there, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. I don't think we have a big chance of them popping up again, but you never know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, moving on to this actually was announced today. Jason Aaron is returning DC Comics with a new Batman series, which is so interesting because he's such a Marvel boy, and I think he did leave Marvel, I want to say, and did indie comics, but now he's going back to DC. So it's interesting to see the shuffle.
Yeah,
what is the
15-year exclusive with Marvel?
Yeah. It's a mini series.
Batman Off-World.
What is it called?
Off-World.
Off-World.
Oh God.
I don't know if I want to go Off-World.
It's like
follow a young Batman as he faces a new enemy from space.
Didn't he recently just fall from space? You know, it's like every story these days is just everything where the character is off world. And it's like, what happened to the story? Can we just get the story with him being on world and dealing with what's going on in canon?
You know what's interesting? I was reading I read the What If Dark Spider-Gwen story, and I was like, wow, this is really freaking good.
That.
It was very good because when I read it, I was like, oh, you're just going to do Spider-Gwen because that's popular. And like, no, we're actually going to tell a story that's very nostalgic to Spider-Man and tell very interpersonal relationships and tell something really different. And with her, it was, obviously Spider-Man died and the Norman kind of gets, Harry gets involved in everything, and he becomes a villain because of her. And then she becomes a spider person without powers. And I was like, oh, wow, that's super different. And you get this interpersonal relationships between her and Harry. And I'm like, oh, I miss the days of comics when it really was about interpersonal relationships and less about the shock value that happened was because of buildup of a story. Yeah. And they did that all in one issue. And I was like, damn, this is like really good writing. And like you said, Mike, throwing someone to space or just like killing someone off just like for a headline, it's not as fun as like, let's see this gradual buildup. Like I think a great example of that was like Joshua Williamson's Robin. All the things that happened in that book, everything was built up. And when you get to those big moments, you're like, oh, wow, I can't wait until he sees Batman because we're being building up to that moment.
But you saw who wrote that book, didn't you?
Yeah, Jerry Conway. So,
exactly. So that's why.
Obviously.
I mean, that's why for sure. I mean, he's all over that story, right? So it's like I would have loved to seen that continue, like where they would go with that, right? Yeah, but with her losing Harry, I mean, oh my gosh, that was a powerful book. I really enjoyed that one. That was great. And it was only one issue. And it's just like, again, I said that with Supergirl, like I don't usually like buying one issue stories, but this was What If, and we know what ifs have a history in the Marvel universe. And of course it was Spider-Man. So my favorite character. And I wanted to see what they did with Spider-Gwen, and it wasn't Spider-Gwen. They kind of like fooled you with that cover, and she was just regular Spider-Woman, like you said, without powers. So just, yeah, really good book, man. Glad you brought that one up.
Yeah, no, that was one that when we weren't on, I was like, oh man, I wish we were on, because this would have been a really cool book to talk about and gush over. Why is it called What If Dark? I don't know, honestly. I don't think they're much darker than any other ones, but I guess that's what they're trying to say, is like these are dark tales, but I feel like every What If story is usually pretty dark. Yeah, so let's get into the last thing, which is this was a big thing that happened this week, which is X-Men is now becoming a priority. And to show that priority, we have, I believe, Tom Brevoort, who's going to be shifting over just doing X-Men, which hasn't, X-Men's already been a big priority. So it's just a weird, is it because Spider-Man's not doing well? I don't understand what the priority is.
Jordan White's behind the X-Men. He's the guy in charge there. And just a lot of people are not happy, obviously, with the X-Men or the X-Men in general for a very long time. Like, we got House of X and Powers of 10. The concept was interesting, but for the overall aspect of the entire line of X-Men, it's no one reads it. No, it's not the same.
I think what because they mentioned in this article, like there's been a lot of focus on Avengers and those characters with Disassembled, Civil War, etc. So they're gonna widen the scope of X-Men in the larger Marvel universe, maybe.
So he's not going to be doing Avengers anymore. He's going to be leaving Avengers. He's going to be doing X-Men.
Right.
Where Jordan White goes, I have no idea. Right. But I guess because of what Brevoort did with the Avengers with so many years,
right?
Maybe he can turn around the X-Men for the better. And
I guess, but the Avengers haven't been that great in the last couple of years either.
When you look at how long he's been on there, though, it's been quite a while. So.
Yeah, I think it's been since, I want to say 15 years, 20 years. I don't even remember what it said. Maybe I would think Disassembled.
Yeah, Disassembled, I think was it. Yeah. Yep. And then, listen, Jason Aaron's run wasn't that great. So, but there's just a lot of people that are disliking X-Men.
Well, a lot of people are probably not picking up X-Men either. But I think that I wish that Marvel would take a DC approach in a way of what they've been doing with their newer books. And again, not events and all that, but just like, I want to say listening to the fans, but also doing its own thing. I think Green Lantern's a really good example of that. Green Arrow's Superman's a really good example of that. It feels so fresh, but it feels so Superman. I wish they would do. And again, when I say this, I don't mean that Mary Jane and Peter have to get back together. I don't mean that the X-Men need to be in the mansion. I'm just saying, like, tell stories that have to do with these characters. Tell me a story about great responsibility with Spider-Man. Tell me a story about being othered with the X-Men. Like, just tell me good stories. Don't keep doing the same thing, because you're running out of gas here with a lot of these books. I think Incredible Hulk's a great example of doing something different, but also still embracing what has come with the past. It's still, it honestly feels like Immortal Hulk, but it's not like I've read this before. It's like, oh, this feels like a different type of horror story. And I've been really enjoying that book because of it.
And Dynamite says the whole resurrection thing needs to go in X-Men. So, it is. Yeah. As of right now, it's not there. Yeah. So, which is a great thing, because
that was from Hellfire Gala, right? They introduced that.
Yeah, then I think somewhere else they said, those 5 are gone and they're not coming back.
Yeah, so they got teleported through when the whole gates were closing.
Yeah,
and they fell off somewhere. So it's kind of like they're not around right now, or whatever the case may be. But I'm sure they'll come back somewhere and they'll resurrect everybody. But that whole thing needs to go, because there's nothing at stake. You can't take a death seriously. It's like, oh, this person died, who cares, and there's just too many. There's too many books. There's just way too many of them. They just need to shrink it down. If you had like 2-3 X-Men books, the max, I'm sure a lot more people might check it out.
Or even sell more solo books. I think it's been a good idea that I mean, not that everyone's like Iceman, but Iceman or Storm or Jean Grey, because people like these characters. Like, I'd rather them do the 3 core, and then if you really want more X-Men books, just tell me some solo stories.
Right. So I don't know. We'll see with the X-Men. I think they need a change, and hopefully it's for the better. Yeah, in my opinion.
We do have a question from Mark Davis. What did you think of Blade issue 1? I really enjoyed the writing artwork, but I hope the coloring improves. I agree with the coloring, because this is the same artist as Black Widow, and I was just like, oh, this looks different. But I really like the story. I'm not a Blade fan, but it sold me, and I think it was very easy to get into.
I think I enjoyed it. I know I read it.
I think I read it too, and I think I liked it because he was.
It was a while ago.
He was held captive, right, at the end, and then someone was going to release him if he helped her out or something like that.
Yeah, it was like more from the point of view of this girl. They had like help, but then she's being possessed by this other person, and then he finds out like, oh,
he released her like it was it was a trick. Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah.
This is a good book. I really liked it. As someone who's never really read Blade, I really liked the story with his daughter. I like this, and it's a good artist, but I agree the coloring could improve a little bit.
That's kind of like me with like Benjamin Percy's Ghost Rider. Like, I never really read Ghost Rider. I read individual issues here and there, but the way he writes the character and how horrific it is and how the artwork is, it's really good. So,
Brent, did you have more thoughts on X-Men stuff or?
No, that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, then we wrapped up all the news. We did some rapid fires. You can't say we're not caught up now. So I think we even caught up with a lot of the books that we missed too. So now we're in full swing. Again, I won't be here next week, but after that, I'll be here, and we'll be the 3 of us, and we'll be continuing this ride. Thank you for bearing with us for the summer. But let's get to the top 3 most anticipated.
Yeah, let's do that. So at least we know what you're anticipating, Kat.
Yes.
So looks like we all had the same number 1. So
I was surprised by that. I didn't think everyone would be so excited. I'm stoked for that book.
Yeah. So you and I, Kat, like, it's my number 3 and your number 2, Spider-Man number 11, which we kind of already talked about.
Spider-Boy, we find out who he is.
Exactly. So there is that. So I'm anticipating that. Your number 3, then. Let's talk about that.
Second Coming. I love that book. I'm the only one who reads it probably in the universe, but I really, really love it. It's funny. It's touching. It's just it doesn't feel like a lot of other books on the stands. And yeah, it's a pretty easy book to get into too. I don't really feel it. I mean, you probably need to know the gist of the book, but I feel like it's pretty new reader friendly almost every issue. So it's not much of a continuous story.
Yeah. Well, I am glad you're still enjoying it after all this time.
Yeah, 3 volumes in. If you get 3 volumes in, you're still liking the book just as much as issue 1. That is something.
No, that's great. That's great.
Messiah Man says, "What if Spider-Boy was Paul the whole time?"
I would say their statures are maybe a tad bit different, but
it's Paul in the past.
Yeah, that would be funny. All right, so Mike, your number 3 is Batman Superman World's Finest number 18, the secret origin of how the world's finest teamed up for the first time, I guess.
Yeah, man, I think that could be fun. Because the way Mark Waid has written these like stories in between major story arcs has been good. For instance, when he did the Supergirl with Tim Drake issue. Yeah. Right. And they went on the date. So I have a feeling this might be a similar tone to that. And I like those issues. It's kind of like a palate cleanser. And then we get into the next story arc. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Cool. And my number 2 is Void Rivals number 3, because they come into contact with some prisoners, and they kind of the tease for it was cryptic, saying they're not the only ones here, and it made me wonder if they're gonna throw in some more characters from that shared universe.
Or do you think it's gonna be G.I. Joe characters?
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Oh, so that would be freaking awesome. Like, who could it be that's in there, right?
Yeah, like in Roblox, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
What if
Hopefully,
it's Cobra Commander in
oh
there?
man, that would be so. I would.
Oh, dude, that would be awesome. Now
I'd
you
be
made
so
me like
excited.
make that jump up in my list more now.
Right? So
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
and maybe I'm completely wrong. It's just like a bunch of new characters, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hope that's the
exactly.
case. Yeah, I hope that's the case. And then Mike, your number 2, Ghost Rider, which you talked about this week.
So it's playing off of that story that I was talking to you about before.
Right.
So I mean, that's why. And listen, it's just a good book for me. It's just a good read. Obviously, you know, horror and Ghost Riders acquire taste, but you know, when it's done right, I think people can get into that type of book. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
This is funny. Mike Manhattan. Think about it. Spider Boy was forgotten by Peter, so to get back at him, he stole his girlfriend.
Look, whatever happens tomorrow, it's going to be an interesting issue, I'm sure.
But I mean, what's
I
his
really
name?
can't imagine.
Bailey Biggs or
Bailey,
something?
yeah.
Yeah. Little redheaded kid. Oh, what if he's the secret lost child of Mary Jane? He's got red hair.
Interesting. Maybe it's like her lost brother. We've already done
Jimmy
the
Olsen
story with Mary Jane.
It's Jimmy Olsen. Oh man!
All right, so our number 1 that
I'm shocked that all 3 of us had this.
Yeah, this is a new book from Image. It's called The Cull, number 1, and it's from Kelly Thompson with I'm gonna butcher his name, but Matea Eulis. I'll say
Lewis.
But it's gorgeous freaking art. Oh my god, I love the art. So and we all love
Kelly Thompson. Yeah, it's
and it's independent work, so it's just gonna be cool.
Yeah,
and again, it's the art because the last book, remember, we read and it was just like, oh, it's so hard to get into because of the art. So like now we have great art. There's nothing that's gonna pull us back.
So I'll read the description for this. Something is killing the children. Horror vibes mixed with the Goonies style adventure as 5 friends, set off to shoot a short film on a forbidden rock. So it's like 80s vibes.
Be so good.
Near their home the summer before they go their separate ways, but that's not really why they're there. One of them has lied, and that will change their lives forever. So it's just
it sounds like a home run. It just sounds so good.
Yeah, mystery, intrigue, classic nostalgia vibes, horror. You got all kinds of stuff going on with that. So it just sounds really cool and gorgeous.
Honestly, Kelly. Oh, sorry, Brand. Go on.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that Kelly Thompson just rarely, foul balls. Like I really can't remember. And the only time I disliked the Kelly Thompson book was that Image book, and it really wasn't her fault. I really just.
What was it? That Black Cloak one?
Yeah, the Black Cloak. And I was like, I don't even hate the story. It was just mostly the artwork. I couldn't get into
that book. Because it was because of that artwork. I was just like, oh my gosh, like.
But the story wasn't bad. I read the second issue too, and I was like, damn, I wish I could get into this book more because it's actually like a decent story.
I think if it had been broken up a little bit more too, because they were. It
was a thick book though too, right? It was a big book. Yeah. I don't feel the need for all number 1s these days to be this
like 70 pages
huge book. It doesn't need to be. Like you can tell a very adequate story in 28 pages or whatever, your standard comic book is.
It's cheaper too. Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on the economics you're looking at, because if it's bigger size, you get to sell it for more, but then it is more pages that you're selling. So it's just like, it's not as cheap to make. So I think there's 2 flips of the coin. Mike Manhattan did ask if we read Sacrificers. And I actually thought that was a pretty solid book. I liked it. I don't like animal books usually, but I was like, oh, this has a pretty good humor.
That was a sad book, man.
Yeah, it was a sad book.
Yeah, I felt bad for that little bird kid that got taken away from his parents, and oh my gosh. And now it's like, well, where do you go from here? Like, what's going on? Like, where does the kid go? What happens with the parents? Like, there's so much like mystery involved in that book because it scratched just a little portion of the surface of that story there.
Yeah, exactly. That's the hook though, right?
Yeah.
So, Dynamite says about Void Rivals, 2 appearances I heard. Don't know who.
Oh, Destro.
I feel like tomorrow is going to be a big day for comics. I feel like you have the Void Rivals, again, you have Spider Boy. I hope Cull is just, home run. I think there's going to be a lot of like big news pieces that come. And I don't know this, I'm just saying this, but I think there's going to be like a lot of cool moments to happen in tomorrow's comics. And of course, I won't be here next week, but
Of course.
you can watch my YouTube show tomorrow if you guys want my thoughts. But yeah, I think was that all of them?
There's a
Sorry, that's what I was trying to read. I was like,
no,
what?
yeah, I don't.
Says that
know, but
Comic Toby says, I don't know, but when I watch a only good comics video, it's a review of a back issue per se. Like maybe he'll review Night Terror #1 next week. I don't know. No offense.
I don't think that's
I like
offensive
No,
thing.
that's no
Yeah.
offense at all. Yeah, that's kind of what the channel is. It's like just books that I enjoyed, and so yeah, I think the last one I did, I forgot to upload one this week actually, but
you did the
last
Miles one, didn't
Miles
you?
Morales issue
Yeah.
1, so that was
Yeah.
not that long ago, but yeah. If something really good comes out this week though that I'm just loving, I might do the call. So we'll see what happens, but I don't know that Night Terror #1 is going to make my cut though.
No, it's
Sorry.
only good comics. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I know on my my Worthy Ones episode, which I'll probably do on Thursday, as long as I will be talking about that issue. I know Kat will be talking about that issue too on Wednesday tomorrow. So
you'll get our thoughts.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
obviously next week we'll be talking about that issue for sure,
Yeah.
live on this show. So I guess that's gonna it, right? We're gonna wrap it up.
That's it.
Somehow wrapped it under 2 hours. I don't know how we did it.
I don't
but
know how.
I'm proud of us.
We rock.
Yeah.
It's like we didn't lose a step at all. It was just setting up everything where we lost multiple steps.
Setting up was a little bit tricky, but the show itself, I think we did good job. And again, thank you guys for being so understanding, and being patient for us getting a date. We didn't want to like give a random date and not abide to it, so we wanted to really try to figure it out, and we'll be back. I mean, we've been doing this thing for a long time. We've always been back, so thank you for letting us take a hiatus, because like Mike said, he had stuff going on with his stuff, and then me and Brand had our stuff going on, and I think we all appreciated just taking a break for the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, so that's it. We're wrapping it up. I want to thank you all for watching tonight, and of course, guys, before we go, we just got to remind you, you got to make sure you subscribe to Comic Book Corner 2.0 and Comic Book Weekly, because when you subscribe to Comic Book Weekly, you can watch all of the past shows right on there. Take you quite a few hours to get through it, but you will get through it. And then, of course, don't forget to hit that bell so you don't miss any of our shows and videos. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. And, of course, follow us on the social media, Facebook, X, Instagram.
We got to change our symbol,
right? All those different places, and that's about it. So until next time, guys, have a wonderful week. Happy New Comic Book Day. Be safe out there. We'll see you real soon.